and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday Call Live. Live from Alliance headquarters in beautiful Burlington, North Carolina. Hosted by our President and CEO, Andy Albright. Brought to you by AMP Studios in front of a live studio audience. Featuring in-depth training and the latest Alliance news. Now, let's hear it for your host, our President and CEO, Andy Albright!
Thanks, crazy! It's happening! It is happening up in here. Y'all grab a seat. We got a lot to cover. Woo-hoo! Rock and roll, man. Oh, y'all feel it happening across the country? People blowing up, people getting crazy, hiring, people producing faster. Speed, people getting sharper, people faster. That's the crazy combination. All right, so today we I don't feel like I've been here in a while. Is that? I feel like I've been all over Switzerland and Italy and Hawaii. God, how was that Hawaii trip? Yeah, man, we had a blast hanging out in Hawaii. Good gosh. If you didn't make it, we missed you, but we survived without you. We don't want to survive without you in Paris. We want you to be there with us. And you got plenty of time now, but let me tell you something. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. Time is going by fast, and I don't want you to miss out. We have a ton of stuff to cover today. I have Jeff Bright with me, and he is the main attraction. We are putting together the house today, covering our value of respect. And he's got a jam-packed ton of information, and I love the way that he's got the academic side and the understanding and all the words. And I'm like, all right. What we're trying to say, huh? Yeah, but I'm gonna break it down about 3 words, you know. He's got all these words and paragraphs, but it is really good stuff. So I can't wait for him to show you. But I want to tell y'all something. We got all kinds of contests going on. One of the things that's going on is Forrester's is giving away this book bag. And this thing is bad to the bone. It's got that rough finished leather. 33 of these are going to be handed out at our family reunion coming up the end of July. So if y'all will pass that around, if you want to get a hold of those. I've got 33 people that are winning that. We've got, we're giving away $20,000 to the top producer. Just a 90-day window. We did April, May, and June. So we're coming into the last stretch of this, and somebody's going to win $20,000. Don't get upset because number 2 gets $15,000. And it's funny because people tell me, I win everything I ever been in. I win. When I make my mind up, I win. Well, there's a contest going on. I want to let you know. You meet those people, you're going like, you're not in the top 33. You know, what was your contest? 17 people in your kindergarten? You know, this is the Alliance, baby. This is the Alliance. You want to win something to put something up, get your stack of $20 bills about like that. $20,000. Number 3 gets $10,000. So let's look at see if we can pull those up for me, Billy. We're looking for the top 33 of the 212 contest, the cash bonus one. That's the one I'm talking about. Look here. Woo! We're talking about a commanding lead by Michelle Alleman. And I just love people, they have excuses. And these are called the curve busters or the excuse eliminators. So Michelle Alleman at 70,000. Notice Mr. Brant Swindell has 52,000 issue paid, and he's got another 10,000 points because of annuities. Good job, Brant. At 63,000. Tight behind him is Sarge. Sarge, right here, that's the difference between here to here is $5,000. I just want to be clear with you. Sarge, you're $800 away on picking up an extra $15,000. Is that right? Yeah. No, $5,000. So Sarge, $5,000 more up, $5,000 less down. Now 2 up, Sarge, you pick up $10,000. So I'm just saying, Sarge, and I know Mona is pulling for you. And Bill Cook is creeping up. And Debbie Ben sliding right in there at number 5 at 53,000. So look, 73. Look at this. Look how tight it gets down in here. James Coleman. Let's see. It goes 5,000, 5,000, 5,000, 5,000. Kerry Williams, 5,000. Melissa Williams at 5,000. Margaret Hutchinson at 5,000. And Marcus Richardson has slid up in here from Denver, Colorado. Okay, now. All right, let's see. Slide this down for me a little bit, Billy. Let's see who else we got. Get the next 10. All right. Okay, so here we cuts off. There's a big drop off from number 10 to 11. So Vanessa, a little bit more money. You're $100 short. Marcus, you could lose $2,500 if you let up at all. Glenn Lamb, Adam Johnson, George Andershock, Minerve, Tim Tipton. Now look, I want to show y'all something about Tim. Tim's got 39,000, but he only get credit for 37,000. So he is going to jump up when he gets a few more apps coming in, and he's prone to pick up big applications. So I think he's a sleeper right here. I think he can move into the top 10. Junior Correa, I talked to him this morning. He was in between 13 appointments that he'd booked. So he's got a chance to come on behind. Bel Air, Bel Air's loud. Bel Air, here we go. You're at number 18. Michael Owens, 19. Balick at 36. Give me some more, Billy. Mr. Doug Becker. Doug Becker. Jessica Phillips, part of the Mr. Katz team. Jessica, come on, girl. Just a little bit more. Jeff Adcock, out there, part of the Alleman team. He was out in Hawaii. Kimberly Young at 24. Kimberly, 24, she says number 1. Okay, to be clear, she says number 1. She said, I'm going to win number 1. She said, June is going to be crazy. I'm saying, Kimberly, I'm calling you out. I mean, I'd be proud to be number 24, but you said number 1. Bill Cook's up there at number 3. Las Vegas represented here, Matt Goodrich. David Lewis, part of the Paul Roberts team. And Megan Alleman. Look at this. We got 2 Allemans in the contest. 2 Allemans. That's mother-daughter. Mac Judy. Lisa Lyon has crept up into the top 33. Shannon Barnhart. And look at here. Jara Gonzalez. She's brand new. She's started with the company, was it March? She started with the company this year, February or March, and she is above everybody. Nick Neitzel, Caleb Law is coming on. Okay, so Nick Neitzel was the cutoff right here. So 32,000, and this is in 2 months issue paid. Okay, so it's going to be interested, not quite 2 months. It's through the 24th of May. 24th of May. So we got about 6 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks left. So it'll be interesting what happens. Let's see who's close, Billy. Can you scroll down? Mike Rodriguez is close to money. What's going to be fun is having everybody on stage and pushing that money off. You know what I'm saying? And you either got that big block of cash or you get that little, but still $500, All right, here we go. Katrina Gustin, Mike Rodriguez, Glenda Graham, Janina, Danny Johnson, Jacob Kern, Pam Moore, Jasmine Lightborn, Mickey Cruz, Mark Magar, Olga Mathis, and Joe Dukes. So that rounds out the top 40. We'll do 50. Nikki Ebanks and Austin Smith. So let's go back up here to number 1. Let's review number 1 more time, just so we know what we're shooting for. Michelle Alleman, Brant Swindell, $20,000, $15,000, $15,000. If it ended today, $10,000 to Michelle, $20,000 to Michelle, $15,000 to Brant, $10,000 to Robert, $5,000 all the way down. Sarge. All right, y'all got it? You get all your commissions. You get all your commissions. There's no cut. You don't pay to enter. It's just you winning money, and this moves you up. All right, let's look at the recruiting, Billy. How you doing, man? Are you, Peter?
Yes, from Denver.
Did you just fly out here from Denver?
Yes, I did, sir.
Good to see you. I thought I recognized you. You tracking on this? You see how some people win? Some talk about winning. Some almost win. And some can't see the tail lights. Okay, recruiting. Here we go. 26 direct recruits. 11 of them have turned in and got their first piece of business issue paid. $20,000 on the line. Noel Leventovich and Mike, 13, 9, 2 behind. If I remember correctly, he was 1 ahead, and now he's moved to 2 ahead. Only 111, only 19, only 18. Kyle Cater, 23,000. See in the house? There he is. And team. Michael Owens, 16, 7 converted. Ben Ortiz, 6 people, 7 converted. Chris Robinson remains it. So here we go. $20,000, $15,000, $10,000. All right. Chris Robinson, Joe Walker, Bell Krause, Jake and Bell. So here we go. Look at this. We end at 6 right here. All right. I want y'all to make sure y'all see how this works here. So all these people, these people are tied at 6, tied at 7. One more person issues business, they move up. Then if this person had 8, if Michael Owens had 8, he's got 2, we go to this category, he would win the money. So if he just had 1 more here, he moves up here. You with me? Well, what if Kyle had 2 here? Kyle still don't win, Michael still beats him because we go to that category. So moving people through the system. So you get a person to sell, get them to sell 3, get them to sell 5, get them to sell 10. All right, 5s. 3 people tucked in there at 5. So really the big money is here. So we got a 7, 2 6s. So these people are right there at it. Who is this? Chris Robinson could be into money because look at his 3. All he's got to get is 2 more, ties at 8, and he goes into number 3. Okay? I'm not down at the bottom where you're ranked 100 or 200. All of life is the same way. It's 1 inch away. I talked to 2 or 3 people this morning, just one-on-one, and if I could say one more thing to them, I go like, you're so close. But people hesitate, stop, get distracted, get confused, get in their own head. When it's just get out and make 1 more phone call, knock on 1 more door, make 1 more encouraging phone call when you're walking out the door, when you got ready to go to bed, 1 more text, 1 more email, 1 more post on band. That 1 more stuff is what wins. Okay? It's real evidence up in here, but when it gets down in there, I'm telling you the whole thing is that 1 more. All right, Bell Krause, Steve Moore, Henry Borland. And keep in mind, Borland is hired by Ortiz. Where's he at? So you got Ortiz and Borland right back to back. James Hill, Steve Thompson, Chris and Courtney Long. Marcus Richardson again. Whoa! That's a repeat right there, ain't it? Is any of the other ones repeats? Was Bell Krause? Was they Krause? Huh? So Krause was a repeat. Owens is a repeat. So the way this works, if you're in the top 3 in sales and top 3 in recruiting, I throw in $10,000 extra. So that's a $50,000 bonus on top of all your commissions and the hierarchy you're building. If you're in the top 3 and the top 10, So if you're in the top 3 on one side, in the top 10, $7,500 extra. If you're in the top 10, I don't care if you're 10 and 10. If you're down here at number 10 and number 10 in sales, I give you extra $5,000. Okay, so it's that combination. You're looking for that person that's doing both defense and offense. There he is, Terry Edwards in the house. Terry and Tia right here with 4. Look, Terry, here we go. You tied with all these people. It looks like it goes down further. All these people. And here's where it matters. You look good in this column. You look good in this column right here. So one of your people need to get them up to 10 sales, and that bumps you all the way up to here because you would knock this person out. And then you're going to need one more to go here. Yeah, that's where what you really need to do is just go to 5.
That's in the works. That's a little complicated over there.
Kimberly Spinelli Young, she is on both sides. What was she, number 24? Number 24, number 16. Got to get you up into 10 on both sides. Mark Hutchinson, Paul Roberts, Stephen Davies, Kerry Williams, all these are tied at 4. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people tied at 4. I knew that was going to be tight. All right, Billy, scroll on down. Give me a George Wilson. George Wilson, these are all 3s. Keeps going on down. I'll come back up and do the names. Swindell, Doge, Michelle Alleman. She's a repeat. She was number 1. So, Mike and Michelle, you got an opportunity to make $10,000 quick just by moving that number up and moving. Well, no, you would make an extra $20,000, $15,000, or $10 plus the extra 10. Oh my gosh. Think about that. So she's number 1 in sales. She's down here ranked at number 27. This is what I was explaining to you about. If this was me, I would be saying, what do I got to do to get this person to sell more in width so that I could get in the top 3 in recruiting? In other words, you know what I'm saying? In other words, I'm going like, the opportunity to move up to $10,000 to be in number 3 is $10,000. If I spent 9 to move up, I'd make $1,000. So I'd be thinking, how do I spend $9,000 to move up? Or how do I spend 5 to move up? Is it staff? Is it leads? Is it taking them places? Is it staying up late at night? What do I got to do to spend the money to make the $10,000? But if she moves up into $15,000, then she picks up actually $25,000. Does that make sense? Because she's already at 1 at $20,000. Over here, she's picking up like $500. So let's just say nothing. She moves up into $10,000 at number 3, and she picks up another $10,000. That gives her $20,000 more dollars. If she moves up to 15 plus 10, $25,000. Or does that make sense, sir? So I would leverage that like crazy trying to get there. In my mind, what do I got to do to get there? It would be like if you owed a piece of property here and piece of property here, and somebody said, man, and then there's a little piece in between here, and somebody said, if you owned all of that, it would be worth $8 million. And let's say you paid $1 million and $1 million, and then somebody wants like $400,000. You go, it's a little bitty piece of property. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. But if you had it, you've got the whole connection. Does this make sense? It's like understanding. It's not about being right. You're like, it's not worth it. And I go, okay, I'm not arguing with you. But if you bought it, then it will be worth it. Yeah, but it's not worth it. Okay. Michael Frederick, Chadwick Ray. Chadwick done got in here and the number 29 in recruiting with 3. Shiki boom yow. Cuz, there he is right there. There's Cuz right there with 3. Good job, Cuz. James Coleman. Seemed like he was on the sales side too. Was he in the top 10? Same math, Coleman. Same math right here. Brandon Beal coming on strong with 3. Evan Patzer, he was fired up. So here we go. Number 3 ends right here. Number 33, that's where the money ends. That's where we're on stage. All right. Let's go. Give me the top 33 Foresters real quick because I want to talk about this bag giveaway. All right. So with foresters, number 1 personal production is Vanessa Del Rey, George Andershot, Kim Young, Bill Cook, Michael Owens, Mac Judy, Matt Goodrich, Adam Johnson, Jasmine Lightborn, Megan Alleman, Kimberly Young, Cook, Owens, Judy, Goodrich, Adam Johnson, Lightborn, Alleman, Janina, Adcock, Bubba, James, Bubba Skinner. Y'all know who Bubba is? Y'all know who Bubba is? Bubba went to high school with Paul Roberts. Some mascot they had. I don't know what that is, but they do that when they talk about where they went to high school. They ain't seen each other in, I don't know, 20 years. And Bubba sees Paul Roberts, and you know Paul talks about he weren't ranked real high in his graduating class. And he says, look at that joker where he's living in his cars and stuff. And he calls him, he says, what are you doing? So Bubba's with us now. Steve Moore, Junior Korea, Minerve, Jacob Kern, Jacob and Kelly were hanging out in Hawaii. Minerve was in Hawaii. Caleb coming on strong. Man, he's coming on strong. Nikki Ebanks, Katrina Guston, Michelle Alleman, Marcus Richardson. So what does that tell you? He says she's number 21. She writes a lot of other carriers too. All right, Marcus Richardson, Joe Dukes, Glenda Graham, Mark Hutchinson, Debbie Ben, Ann Latino, Nick Neitzel, Chadwick Ray, Dan Gillingham, and Carrie Williams, Olga Mathis, and Pam Moore. So there's where the bags would cut off, if that's where they were. Okay? All right, Darwin's fired up. Our new guy, Bruce, is fired up to hand these bags out at family reunion. Let's go to the, I want to talk about this $10,000 issue pay. Go with CFG, will you? Both of these two carriers, CFG and Foresters, has agreed to bring $10,000. And we're going to put your name in your hat if you issue pay $10,000 with CFG or Foresters, actually both. But anybody that comes in the top 33 is not in the drawing. So what you're doing is you're eliminating about 66 of the people out of the contest. So what we're talking about is number 67, number 68. So basically you're in the 100 to 140 range. If you're down in there, you're not winning it. All you got to do is get issue paid $10,000 with Foresters, $10,000 with CFG, and be in that drawing for $1,000 each. Making sense? So these are the people. These people are already in the top 33. She's not. So they're available. They're available to win it. So I'll post these on band for you. I'm not going to go through every one of them. Go to the GSB report. This I want to talk about just real quickly. All right. Every month we give away money based on who has over 5,000 issue paid, and they get one new person to issue pay business. Just one. Just one. We're at $7,800 in May. But this is how close we are. We are 17,000 more. So that would be over $20,000 we'll give away. These people, all they need is one more person. All they need is one. Not one more, one person. Just one. Find somebody that can get a license and get an issue paid policy. We give away $13,000 more dollars. Does that make sense? 1 inch, just a little bit of effort is all we're going for. Just a little bit more effort. So that's where we are. We do have a new SEAL team guy already. Brant Swindell is already SEAL Team 6. Michelle Alleman has hit SEAL Team 6 previously. And Bill Cook is right there at SEAL Team 6. So you got to do $35,000 plus one issue paid. And at that level, we give away $350. Okay, actually all the way down to here, we give away $350. So Good Samaritan bonus is right there on the edge too. Let's get this thing up to where we're giving away more than $20,000. Okay, I don't know. Do we have the house? Billy, did we even? I'm not sure if we loaded up the house this time. We do not. Okay. So with the house that we're building, we've got columns in it, or values. And the value we want to talk about today is respect. Okay. So, Jeff Bright, talk to me, baby. So, guys, give Jeff Bright a hand. So what Jeff, I'm going to come over here, Jeff. What Jeff, his goal is to define and educate, and I say it's something we're built on. If you don't have respect for each other, we can't go to the hot spots. If you don't respect people, you can't recruit. If you don't respect yourself, you don't think you deserve it. And that's where I leave it. I go, respect, show me. But this really, hopefully you'll grasp more of an understanding. This is a formula. Actually, Mac Hefner calls it a
blueprint.
A blueprint of how to get respect and how to have respect. So, Mr. Jeff Bright, talk to us.
I just discovered something. My handwriting's bad, isn't it? It's
That's
really...
why I normally rewrite it.
I know.
You think I'm trying to take credit?
No, I get it.
I just want them to be able to read it.
I get it now. So the blueprint, or hey, here's a good word for him being a beaver and an engineer, an equation.
An old word.
So validation plus courtesy plus diplomacy is how we define respect. And these drive depth this way. We have validation, which comes from empathy, and empathy comes from understanding. And I'm going to go through this in detail. I'm just kind of giving an overview right here. Courtesy comes from manners, and manners comes from civility. Diplomacy comes from professionalism, and professionalism comes from humility. We'll go over each of these definitions in depth here in a second. Hey, I want to come back to this, Billy, but I'd like to go to the next page, if I could, where we talk about the definition of respect.
Yeah, all you got to do is, yeah.
Okay, there we go. So respect, if you look up the origin of respect, the Latin origin, it basically means to have due regard for someone. Did I touch that? Maybe I did. So due regard to what? To someone else's belief system. And due regard means paying attention to another person's belief system. To regard something is to look at it. The Latin origin of the word respect comes from the word to look back at, to make an observation. So you are now taking the step to observe someone else's belief system. No way that I even imply this throughout this presentation today that I'm agreeing with your belief system. I'm just having the respect to observe it. Does that make sense?
Sounds too simple.
Sounds too simple. But a lot of people think respect has everything to do with you believing in what they believe in. You're just, to respect a belief is to observe it. Here's a better word, to acknowledge its existence. So that you can simply respect someone's belief merely by acknowledging that they exist. So I like this quote by Thomas Paine back in the Revolutionary War era, colonial area. He said, give to every other human being every right that you claim for yourself. That's what respect is. So I think that's a cool definition of respect. So let's go back to this. All right. So we got three parts that we need to look at: the validation, the courtesy, and diplomacy. In thirds. We're going to look at them in thirds. So validation is building people's self-worth. Now, we went over this last night in a hot spot. We did this whole definition of validation. We went through 3 steps. I'm confirming that your belief system to you matters. It matters to you. And I said this last night also, that Tim Goad is an excellent example. If you're looking for an example of how to validate, Tim is full of a validation. He's full of validation. I mean, that didn't sound right.
That's better than being full of something else.
It sure is. And you can call Tim's voicemail and listen to him validate you while you're leaving a message. I mean, he's really good at it. And he says things like, you're awesome, you rock star you matter. He says a lot of things like that. He ends his conversation by saying, charge. He's validating you the whole time. So if you struggle with this thing, a lot of people struggle with validation because they're not comfortable with the intimacy that it creates with another human being. Because
they're trying to decide if they agree with them before they validate them.
That's exactly, that's because what Andy's saying here is you can't get to this step 2 of empathy, which is staying out of judgment, because you are too busy trying to figure out whether you should validate them or not. See, validation breaks down the judgment that you have for them. It breaks the ice in a conversation. It drives connection. It greases the wheel so that you can practice empathy and learn to do the next step, which is considering the other person's point of view. Understanding and considering is two different things. I'm just considering, this is called priming the pump, where you stay out of judgment. I'm considering your feelings for a moment. I'm going to remove judgment and consider how you feel about this thing. And then this third step, understanding, is where I recognize what I've considered. I recognize your point of reference by trying to establish common ground through this technique called perspective taking. I'm going to get in your head and look at the world through your lenses for a moment. So it's very quick. It happens very quick. It doesn't happen like in 3 days. It happens simultaneously. You validate, you break the ice, you build self-worth. Then the second thing you do is you consider the other person's point of view. We call this priming the pump, staying out of judgment. And then thirdly, you recognize someone else's point of view, establish common ground, and it's called perspective taking. And it goes like this. First step, that's an interesting point. Second step, I never thought of it that way. Third step, tell me more. It's that simple. And I'm going to tell you, I've done this a lot with different companies, and people, I will write that formula on a board and bring them up and say, just read what I wrote. And they can't do it. They want to stop in the middle of it, especially at empathy. They can't say, I never thought about it that way, and they'll go, yeah, and I'm not sure I want to. No, don't add stuff to that. Now, there are going to be some people that are going to say some crazy stuff to you, and you're going to struggle validating it and saying, that's an interesting point. You think it's a crazy thing that for them to even have that thought, and you don't want to validate that thought. So here's your out clause, is you say, yeah, what do you want to say, Terry?
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, don't say an interesting point if you don't. If you totally can't agree with it, you can get an out clause. All right, an out clause is this. You look at them and you say, I don't know what to say to that. I'm confused. I don't know what to say to what you just said. But you validate them on the back end by saying, but I'm just glad you told me. That buys you about 24 hours to go back and think about it. They won't walk away mad because you don't want to go further with this because you're not sure you want to actually have empathy for that thought. They may have told you, I buried a person in my backyard last night, and you can say, I don't know what to say to that. I'm just glad you told me because I'm going to the police now.
Hey, Jeff, I just, people ask me, like, when you're talking to a new person and you're recruiting them or you're just chatting with somebody, they seem to just talk when you talk to them. I can't get them to talk. And my deal would be you're shutting them down because of that. That makes sense? Like they don't feel safe. They don't feel like leaning towards you because they know there's no validation, empathy, or understanding.
And Andy's talking about you're going straight to step 3. You're trying to get them to talk without massaging it before you get down to, making them relaxed. You massage their neck and say it's going to be all right. These right here get these people comfortable. Tim said this morning to me, and I was talking to him about validation because he's the king of validation, and he said this, exactly what Andy just said. He said validation, the main reason he does it because it creates a safe place. That's why he said you should do it. And he said also, the preacher came out at him and he said, also, you should do it out of a genuine concern for them. That helps. Now, you don't have to have genuine concern right off the bat, all right? You may think what they're saying is absolutely against everything you believe, but you can have respect and observe what they think without you in agreement. That's what respect does for you. You don't have to agree. And you don't have to have genuine concern. Now, it helps. It helps to come from a perspective of love. But if you don't love them, listen, I've known a lot of people in my lifetime that I respect them, but I didn't love them. I didn't have anything close to love toward them. Maybe a high degree of like at best, but not love. But I respected what they had accomplished, the role they played in my life. I respected what their title, okay? But I didn't feel love toward them.
Hey, look, some of you, I want to talk to some of you directly, but I can't because that won't work. So I tell you directly, you get defensive. It's the way you say it too. Like if somebody goes blah, blah, blah to me, and you can use the most offensive, contradictory thing that I've ever heard, and you'll hear me on the phone, or even when I'm talking to them, I go, wow. That's the first step, and then they'll talk some more, and then I'll go, what was your where were you coming from? What were you thinking when you made that decision, when you did that? Here's the other way I hear it. What? As opposed to or like real sarcastic, and it shuts them down versus you're interested in going like, that's a different way of looking at it, You
tone in his voice.
The whole tone. I was telling Jeff, it's one person, he'll say something and he can't make it sound nice. You know what I mean? Just, I don't know why, if he ain't practiced or he don't mean it or whatever, but and it stops people in their tracks. It's got to come across.
You got to be good at it, because if you come across as being sarcastic, because there's two types of wow. You say something to me, I go, wow, or I go, wow. That's basically me saying I think you're crazy as hell. I was in California, and I had a group of Rotary people in front of me, and there was there was Rotary International, so there was some Hispanic folks in the crowd, and I wanted to reach them, and I wanted them to practice this. And there was a language barrier, but they understood enough. So I said, what is your favorite Mexican soccer team? And I was hoping for a response, because I know something about Mexican soccer. And they said, Club America, which is the more uppity. All right? And I said, I don't like this team, but I wanted to get a response from them. And I taught them these 3 steps. And they had practiced them. And I said, now I'm going to tell you my favorite team. It's Pumas. And they went, one of them made a face. So you don't even have to say something. That was evaluating my choice. And one of them went, wow. I'm like, you just didn't get any of this that I just taught. And I said, but Pumas is my team. And they're like, but why? Mr. Jeff, why? Do you understand? I'm like, that's not for you you're judging me right now. You can't stay out of judgment. You are evaluating. If you want to put people on the defensive, evaluate them. If you want to escalate conflict, we can have a class on that if that's what you want. You want to tick people off and escalate conflict, just do the opposite of this. We were confused. We thought you wanted to take conflict that's at a 10 and move it down to a 1. We thought you wanted to sell more insurance. If you just want to go in the house and tick people off, we can have a class on that. You can do the opposite. No, let's put yourself aside for a moment and figure out, what does this person want to hear? People are thirsty for validation, thirsty for it. They love it. You will distract them from all the other stuff. If you validate them, you'll get their full attention. And once you got their full attention, then you can hit them right upside the head with some consideration of their feelings. And stay out of judgment. And then right after that, tell me more. Now they're going to talk. You can't get people to talk. They're going to talk. If you grease the wheel with these 2 steps, they're going to talk to you. They want to talk. People love to be validated. It disarms them. Like Tim said, it creates a safe place now.
I mean, there's always people that are thinking that Jeff's saying, or I'm saying, be fake. Yep. When you comb your hair, when you take a shower, like you naturally stink from sweat, You take a shower. Does that make you a fake person now? It's courtesy. It's respect for other people. So when you're using this, you're not being fake. You're being a courteous human being that's able to build a business and have a downline.
Right.
You're able to have staff. You're able to have people. That makes sense. It's not fake. This is like grown up. This is adult type stuff that creates a massive business. That makes sense.
And that irritates me too, Andy, that people think that I'm trying to teach them some kind of, method that's fake.
It's maturity.
Or I'm teaching you how to be a con artist or something like that. It does bother me because this is all relationship glue that holds relationships together. We should all learn to be this cordial with each other and more civil with each other. We're going to talk about that later.
That one. We better roll.
Yeah, we're going to move on. So we're moving.
You still got
Go to the next one.
Curtis. Well, you still got your.
I'm going to courtesy.
Oh, you're going to do the.
I'm going to do the quotes that I have
okay,
for.
I got you. So you jump over here to.
I'm going to courtesy next, but I'm going to do the quotes for. I've already read all this. I've already done all this. I've read all that. And I've read all that. Go back. Let's go back one. I will say this, Andy, because I like this right here. Sometimes this gets in the way of you practice.
You said it. You didn't read it.
I said it. I didn't read it.
Okay, all right.
Sometimes this gets in the way of staying out of judgment. What is prejudice? Prejudice is a way you give your fear a name. That's what prejudice is. And it comes in the form of a stereotype. So you know what that stereotype does for you? It helps you feel comfortable about being around the unknown. Because that's why you give your fear a name, because you don't know what it is. You've never been around it. So it makes you feel comfortable. You sleep better now. You put your head on the pillow and you sleep better because you've given your fear a name called prejudice. And it comes in the form of a stereotype. And that's why some people can't stay out of judgment. I think
it's really what you're saying is they're protecting. It's not that they can't not judge you. It's just they're scared that they're going to get hurt.
It's a vulnerable choice because it requires you to swallow your pride and leave your biases in the past. And that puts you in a very, very uncomfortable place. Let's see, where are we doing right here? We go to the next one. Understanding. I think that's good. Let's go to the next one. Okay, we're going to do courtesy in a minute, but I'm going to read here's my validation quote. Empathy quote and understanding quote. Mother Teresa, kind words can be short and easy to speak, but their echoes are truly endless. So sometimes you think this validation thing is kind of silly, but it leaves a part of you behind with them.
That's why you have to read. After I talk to 15 or 20 people, I have to read because I'm all gone. I got to read to put something back in me. Does that make sense? It's like I'm drained from talking to people because I'm understanding stuff that, to be honest with you, are hard for me to understand.
It is draining.
You know what I mean? Like, whew. In my head, I'm going, whew.
Here's my empathy quote from Walt Whitman. I love this. I do not ask the wounded person how he feels. I myself must become the wounded person. That's tough. That's a tough deal right there.
All right, so here we are, right here.
Yeah, we're doing the understanding quote here is from Aristotle. To perceive is to suffer. To perceive is to suffer. And that's what he just said. It wears him out because he's having to perceive all day long why they feel that they need to talk to him about this, and he has to suffer along with them. And it drains him. All right, so let's go.
But without letting anybody know it, without expressing it, because it's not my job to express it. It's my job to get it, number 7. I don't know
There
why.
it is right there. Yeah, jumped ahead. So courtesy. Let's go to the next part of the recipe. So courtesy. Now courtesy is, if you think of courtesy, sometimes you think of it as being polite, and you would be correct. We need to clear up this distinction about being polite and being courteous. Polite is almost a ritual response, like saying please or thank you, while courteous is more about your upbringing. So what it is courteous, the face of courtesy is being polite behavior, showing polite behavior. And so your upbringing has a lot to do with that, whether you are being taught a proper attitude, which we call manners, which is etiquette or decorum, which is essential in a civilized society. The enemy of a courteous nature, the enemy of being courteous and being polite, is rudeness. Rudeness. It is the face of disrespect. To be unwilling or unable to align yourself with someone else's norms, especially if their norms are part of the popular decisions that are made every day, and you're the one that's the odd person out, that double downs on rudeness. Now, there's 2 types of rudeness: unfocused and focused. Unfocused would be where I go and get me some water out of the refrigerator over here, and I don't ask Andy if he wants some water. Or I go through this door over here, and Andy's behind me, and I don't even care if he's behind me. I let it slam behind me. Unfocused rudeness is not directed. I'm not directing that rudeness. I'm just oblivious to it. I'm not directing it toward Andy, nor do I have malice toward Andy. I'm just in my own little world. Now, focused rudeness is when you're on the highway and you cut somebody off and you flip them the bird. It's focused at that person, and it's done with malice. You see the difference? Both of them are bad. Both of them get you as Ernest T. Bass would say, that gets me a rude. Okay, we're good with that? Yeah. Here's a quote, a little quote I've got about rudeness. Rudeness is the weak man's imitation of strength. See, some of you think you're being cute by being sarcastic or having rude. That's a weak man's imitation of strength. Sometimes you get around your buddies and you got this little locker room talk.
Yeah, poor man's too. It's a poor man.
It's poor man's imitation.
Poor man's imitation of power. Weak man, poor man. You got to be rude. Got to be, because he ain't got nothing else. You can't show him up with nothing else. All he got to just kind of put that nose up and show them who's who. So, hey, people, listen to people do business. People say, why is Terry and Tia growing? Okay? People do business with people they like. Okay? So, how do I get them to like them? Tell them how great, blow smoke. I got this girl, she always blows smoke. Tell me how good I am. I just like, I ain't paying no attention to that. You with me? On the other hand, me, Paul Roberts, Katz, we're flying on a plane together. If I go in the grocery store, or not a grocery store, I get some snacks or something, I'll buy enough snacks for them. Does that make sense? In other words, just do it. It's just a courtesy thing. Does that make sense? Like if you go and get some water and get 3 waters and just bring them back and hand them around. Hot spots are growing where the people are secretly courteous. Not blatantly blowing smoke and tell them how, I'm so glad y'all come, I love y'all, y'all are great. That's blowing smoke versus you doing stuff and you just kind of doing it. And then people can't figure out why they like this meeting. They can't figure out why they like it. It's because it's empathetic, because it's polite. Does that make sense? It's the things you don't see and you go, I like that person, but I can't put my finger on what it is. That's what's big, and then people just drawn to that. Mm-hmm. This is the reason for the academic getting us to get it. And
I'll go back to number 8. Let's go back to this. I figured this out now.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I figured this out now.
That's that community college education right there.
Yeah. Community college is the key. We didn't have any high-tech stuff, so that's why. We just had boards and markers. When I got different color markers, it was a good day. Y'all stake dollars at work. So I want to throw something at you just for a second so you can see this as I'm doing it. Courtesy and diplomacy that we hadn't got to yet are both behavioral. They're behaviors that you can see, right? Being polite for courtesy, being tactful, being diplomatic. Manners underneath courtesy and professionalism underneath diplomacy, those are attitudes. And then underneath manners, civility is a condition. And underneath professionalism, humility is a condition. So the root of all this is the condition that leads to the attitude that leads to the behavior. See how that works? Does that help? Frame it up for you a second? All right, let me go back to manners. Now manners, it's a prevailing custom or tradition, and it's a way for us to pay reverence to an existing social standard. Now here at the Alliance, this is a society within society. We have this organization is much more than an organization. It's a community. That's one of our core values. And we have to have standards that teach us how to be decent. I mean, just because we love each other and just because we have this sense of community, we still need rules for the road of how to treat each other. Because all of us come from different walks of life, and your version of being courteous may not be my same version of courteous. So we're going to have a universal one that we recognize. So I'm not practicing Jeff Bright's. And Terry, you're not going to practice yours. We're going to practice the Alliance version of courtesy while we gather together. We're hoping that it'll stick, and you'll do that outside the Alliance in your own personal life. But we're not requiring that, but we're saying within our organization, these are the recognized standards of decency. These codes of conduct are sometimes linked with the word, morals. Big deal right there, right? Manners are the first step in morals or morality. Manners for me are the shadows of all these core values that we're talking about. They're the shadow right behind the core value. They have to exist. Etiquette is the first gesture of ethics. Manners cease to have meaning without morals, and etiquette ceases to exist without both of them. Good manners are the rules of etiquette, and good morals means that one has integrity to obey those said rules. I just wanted you to see the difference between morals and manners. We're not really talking about morals today, but I want to see they go hand in hand together, side by side. So the enemy of manners and etiquette, I grouped those two together, manners and etiquette, is disrespect. If rudeness kills courtesy, disrespect will kill manners. So disrespect comes in two forms: arrogance and hate. Number one, I call it, arrogance is like having disregard or disdain for another person. It is the root of unfocused rudeness. You believe people are unworthy of your consideration. So you turn a blind eye and don't even acknowledge that they're in the room. That's where the unfocused rudeness comes from. What's worse is the root of focused rudeness, where you attempt to purposely direct your rudeness towards somebody with malice. That comes in the form of contempt or, this awful word, scorn. A belief that someone or something is worthless, prompting a negative reaction. So one, you think that people are unworthy of your consideration. Two, when it turns to hate, they are worthless in your mind. So that's why we have to have manners, so those two things won't take over a society or a community or an organization. That's why we have to have this standard of decency. People need that. We need something to all agree to and abide to. So we good on that? All right, let's go to civility. Now, there's books written on this, and we've got some books that we recommend by P.M. Forney, who's the father of civility, and he talks about civility. The word civilis is the Latin origin of the word civility is civilis, which means to be a good citizen. Yes, and we want to take care of this thing called the Alliance.
That's right.
He created it. It is a legacy that's left for all of us to take. We're all caregivers. We take care of what, I still got my toys when I was little. The ones that my brother didn't tear up. I took care of my stuff. And if something's really important, we want to take care of it. We're all judged whether we're going to be good citizens of this thing called the Alliance. And I judge that by the quality of your response to the membership of this thing called the Alliance. Because we're all members. We're all card-carrying members of the Alliance. You agree?
Yeah.
And to me, we have an obligation or a civic duty, that's where we get the word civility, to protect this thing called the collective we. We are the Alliance, and the Alliance is us. It's all one thing. I mean, that's when I know people get it. Because and the little things matter. It's like when you leave a room and you leave part of you behind that's not supposed to be left behind. Like your cups. Or you're told, at the college I had people walk in and try to eat in a room that I said no food allowed. I'm thinking, were you raised in a barn? That's not civility. You're not thinking about the collective we, you're thinking about you. I can break this rule because it's not written for me, it's written for all the rest of these people that are pigs and don't know how to eat. I know how to eat, so therefore I can break that rule. I don't think that rule said that there's an exception if you think you're better than the rule. Rules are put there for a reason.
What's the name of that book? I know it's
25 Rules of Civility.
It's PN4, F-O-R-N-I. O-N-I.
I think it's N-I.
Yeah, you're right. Forney. It's PM. PM Forney. What is it? What's the name of that book? Choosing Civility. So I got two things for you. One is, I get this, like when people are eating, there's a lot of rules of civility, and a lot of people don't know it because of not their upbringing, okay? And my parents, my family, they didn't teach me everything. I've learned some stuff since I've been in the business. But this one I get a lot. Is when people eat, you ever know people that they go through their food right into the plate? And you're like, it's a piece of broccoli, bro. It's not a live fish. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I mean, they're slapping your mouth, but they're just going right through the vegetable, right into the plate. And then I have people that are eating with me, and they're like, I see them being real careful of that, because I remember when you said that. And I'm glad I said it, because I feel bad for the plate and everybody. It sounds like sometimes a screeching, and like I don't do that one. But let me tell you this. I was sitting somewhere, I'm going to tell you, I was a group of friends, and I was sitting there, didn't have no shoes on, right? I had flip-flops. And I reached down, I was trying to get a toenail off, as kind of had it, as you cut, and I got to picking at it. You know what I'm talking about, trying to get off. And one of my friends looked at me and he said, don't do that. And I thought to myself, that's not a good thing to do. I didn't have to get it, Terry, I just quit messing with it. I was all busted. You know what I mean? Now, one of my friends is laughing like crazy right now, I hope, because I was like, busted, gosh. But we're in a society that we try to, because here's what I got to thinking. This is going to be a book that we're writing, okay? And I get to see people coaching with arrogance, coaching this with arrogance. And I'm going to go, guys, none of us are perfect, but let's try to improve by 3%. Does that make you with me? Let's try to get more civil in our hot spots. Let's try to have more respect in our hot spots. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay.
That's a good
civility.
Point. Yeah, civility, because it's the root of politeness, it's got to mean more than just walking up to somebody and saying, excuse me. It's an environment that you create that's free of confrontation. It's a safe place for us to gather where we don't walk on eggshells with each other. And it's not about you anymore. It's not a you first type attitude. It's about us. It's about a we. So that promotes what I call synergy. Synergy is what we want. That's when I know that we've got a great culture, is synergy is taking place. From the Greek word synergia, which means working together. Instead of creating separate little cliques. The last thing I want to see in this culture is to walk around at hot spots or conventions and see people get in their little cliques. And then some people that are brand new never ever get approached by somebody that's been here a while. I mean, I'm saying this not because, it's something I don't do. I do find myself going, I look forward to seeing some of these people I hadn't seen in a while. And then I find myself spending a lot of time with them. Then I gotta do a reality check. I'm not here for me. I'm here for the collective we. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because I do want to, like Katrina and me are good friends. I want to see Katrina. I can't wait to see you. But if there's other people waiting around, I'm not going to let me and Katrina dominate my time. I'm going to spend time with some other people, because we're here to grow this business. Not to say, family reunion is family reunion, but it's not family reunion. We're trying to extend our family with family reunion.
That's right.
Not get in our little cliques like you do at your own family reunion and talk about Uncle Henry over there.
That's why that family ain't growing.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. What causes people to not practice civility? Incivility. This is cool. It's really small, and I'll just read it to you. It starts off with unfairness. You're thinking that things are not fair, so you won't practice civility. It becomes about you now. I got to correct this thing called fairness, and I'm being mistreated. And that breeds resentment. Now resentment takes over your life. Then if resentment takes over, it breeds anger. Now you become ticked off because of whatever's happening to you. Then anger breeds hostility. Now you want to hurt somebody. And hostility breeds personal attacks. You start talking about them behind their back. That's one to give you that framework there. All right. So we're going to the next one, diplomacy, the last one over here, diplomacy. All right, diplomacy is a way to deal with people in a sensitive way. But at the same time, be effective, but you got to be sensitive, because sometimes people are sensitive. Now, sensitivity is a funny thing. Like I talked about over here, staying out of judgment. Being so sensitive is a form of judgment. That's a tough deal, right? Some of you are sensitive. And because you are, I had to add this whole column here. Because you've heard people say, I got to handle him like with kid gloves. That's the kid gloves right here, diplomacy. There's a method to influence people through dialogue and negotiation tactics. This is Selling 101 right here. There's a lot of books written on this, about the art of diplomacy. And they call it an art because it is an art form of how to maneuver with people that are overly sensitive about stuff. In order to take this best course of action, one must remain poised by being tactful. Tactful. Having some tact. You don't say what you're thinking. I have a little quote about civility. We have a choice about how to behave every day. That means we have the choice to choose civility and choose diplomacy. Coming back to, yeah. So you have a choice every day. If you don't have this thing called civility, you're probably not going to be very good at diplomacy. Because diplomacy, to me, is speaking without thinking, which is like shooting without aiming. Listen, being open to new ideas is really difficult for most people. So practice and diplomacy is going to not result in anything that we consider successful if you're not open to new ideas. Because all you're going to hear in this business is new ideas and new ways of thinking. And you're going to have that poker face when they say something that's absolutely bizarre and look like it didn't faze you at all. That's the first step of diplomacy, is having that poker face. All right, so let's look at the attitude like manners is, on this side, is professionalism. Professionalism. Now this is something is near and dear to my heart because I really believe in this. I really believe in this. I'm going to read this to you because it's important. Creating and maintaining a professional attitude, because that's what it is, in the workplace may help you earn the respect of your colleagues and clients. Your attitude while working can determine the quality of your professional relationships, affects your productivity level, and can cause you internal habit of work that will be bleeding into your private life. So what that says is that if you practice it here, it's going to follow you somewhere else. The way you do anything is the way you do everything.
All right. You're preaching that, Jeff.
So the way I conducted myself when I'm cleaning my house is the same way I do my business at work. It's a professional attitude. I get up when I don't want to get up. I went to work 30 years. I didn't miss a day of work. Could have phoned it in, but I didn't. And this brings me to Andy. I said it last night. He wants you to practice professionalism. But his version of respect is this. He wants you to respect one thing about him, his work ethic. He wants you to catch one thing from him, his work ethic. That's the beginning and the end of it. There is no other dialogue to have with Andy, really. He just basically says, watch me. And keep up with me or eat my dust, because I'm not slowing down for you. Copy me. And that's how if you want to earn his respect, try to outwork him. You may not outwork him, but he wants you to try. And being professional allows you to do that, because I've got a professional attitude when it comes about work. And there's basically three things that make up three ingredients of being professional. First is the work ethic that we're talking about that Andy has. I have it. He has it. I don't know if it's from our generation or the way we was raised, but I didn't know I couldn't be anything but punctual. Right. I would always get there way ahead of time. Sitting there. I found myself always sitting 30 minutes and waiting on people to get there. Is that something you were, I'm going to tell you, I don't like being broke. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't kind of like it. I hated it. I had a disdain. I just didn't like it. Some of y'all might be okay with it. People say, it's not that bad. I didn't like it at all. I hated it. I didn't like not having the money. I didn't like having good seats, good cars. I didn't like my kids didn't have it. I didn't like it. I never liked it. I'm not, like if you tell me you're broke, I'm not going to react and go like, oh, that's terrible. I just like, wow. So I didn't like it. And this gets you something different. This gets you to have money, which gives you options. Now you can give money away to people. And let's look at the second part of this. Because professionalism is linked with this word image. Your attitude of being a professional is going to determine how people see you. And I don't know if that's important to you. It was important to me. Growing up, I was told to be punctual, but my mother also told me, Jeffrey, and once again, I don't need to be called Jeffrey. That's just something that she said, and my grandmother. Only a couple people call me that. She would say, Jeffrey, don't just show up. Show up ready to work. I knew a lot of people that would play the game and get there, but they didn't do anything. They wasted the taxpayers' money every day. You want to witness this? We'll take a field trip right over to community college, and you can see these people wasting your taxpayers' dollar. They're there when they're supposed to be, and they don't leave till 5 o'clock. But they're not accomplishing anything. They are professional milkers, and I'm not talking about cows. Integrity is the second part of being professional. Following instructions. Yeah, how simple is that? He's giving you instructions, just follow them. That's a way to pay respect. I never thought I had an option. All these, I didn't think these were optional. I'm finding out nowadays they're optional. I didn't know that. I thought I had no choice other than to follow. Here, they said, when you get a job here, Jeff, you're going to have to do these jobs. Not Jeffrey, Jeff. You're going to have to do these jobs, and you're going to have to do them this way. There's no variation. Okay, I can do that. I'm good at copying. I'll do that. And I did it diligently for 30 years. I'm good at obedience. I have no problem being obedient. Some people don't want to be obedient. Like, no, rules are made to be broken. Rules, and I'm not a rule follower. And also, if you don't have integrity, you're not perceived as a representative of this company. You're all ambassadors of this thing called the Alliance. You should not take it for granted. I do not take the opportunity that this man has given me to stand in front of you and hold this mic and be on this camera and talk and to you folks in this audience, but all these people that listen in on the radio or watch it on the computer. I don't take that lightly. If I took it lightly, I'm disrespecting him. How dare I do that? That's how I think. That's what the thoughts that go in my mind. I got to get my act together, as we call it here. Get your mind right. Get your mind right is another way of saying, are you getting ready to pay your due respects to this organization? I don't take it lightly. And then self-motivation. Responsible for what needs to be done or has to be done. Be a self-starter. But there's a second part to this. Also, look for stuff that needs to be done. Know what has to be done as a self-starter. Be an observant person and go, hey, maybe if I need to go over here and help them put out some fires. Maybe I need to go over here and get these people started. Be a self-starter. Not just an opportunity seeker, but a self-starter and an opportunity seeker. That's self-motivation. I look for people that I don't have to micromanage. I'm looking for people that'll get it, and then I can walk away, and I don't have to sit there and call them every day to remind them that they need to go. This is a big problem. We have to call people all the time and remind them of what their responsibility is. And they're grown people. We're grown people. Let's start acting like grown people. We're not children. We need to be poked at every day to remind you what your duties are. If you have to have that reminder call, then that's disrespecting the system. The system works if you'll just be a self-starter and look for opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity to move up that leaderboard, opportunity to bring new people in. Yes, you have your due diligence. You have to every day and mind the store. But you also have to look for ways to make it improvements upon it and improvements upon yourself. I hope that's why you come to these things. I hope that's why you sit and listen to me and Andy talk on a TWC, because you want to make improvements. That's why you're in this room today. All right, that's professionalism. I may have overdone that professionalism thing, but it's important.
Well, I want to... So here we are right here.
Yep.
Okay. So I knew he was going to be talking about this, but I was watching this movie called Man on Fire. Have you ever seen that? Denzel Washington. If you hadn't seen it, you always want a good tip on a great movie. It's inspirational. It's crazy. It's in Mexico City, and this little girl was kidnapped. And this guy gets very upset about it. He becomes a man on fire. And he's like, I'm going to kill everybody associated with this kidnapping and this murder of this little girl. And he just goes crazy, which I like that. In other words, you set yourself on fire, stuff's going to happen. You're going to uncover things. You're going to find out stuff. People are going to watch the movie. Okay? you're going to gather a crowd. Some people, they can't get 2 people to stand around them. That's because they're not on fire. But as he was investigating and he was going into this criminal scene and this gang, he would talk to these people and he would say, how do you do this, little girl? And the guy would say, I'm a professional. And he was like, I keep getting this. And he killed the guy, and another guy was like, I'm a professional. And he's like, I get it, you're professional. But it was the thing of they were executing, even though they didn't even agree with what they were doing, they were professionals. Does that make and I was like, they had a culture in that criminal ring. You with me? Is that like professional? And here's what I get from people. They say things like, you want me to be like this. And I go, I don't care how you are. And they go, no. You keep talking about manners. You keep talking about empathy and understanding where people are coming from. I've always been like this over here. Go, okay. Let me ask you this. Have you ever thought about being rich? Have you ever thought about being free? Have you ever thought about having the capability of helping other people? And people say, no, I've always been like this. And I go, you see how this works? And people say, how do you do that? I go, because I wanted that. I wanted to be able to help other people. The new advancement guy is coming this afternoon from NC State. So Brian Sisko is the guy that raises all the millions of dollars and gets you contribute to Droves NC State, which I've given millions to, right? So he's bringing the new guy. He's coming. I'm going to get to talk to this guy. They're not talking to me because they think I can't help.
Right.
So I wanted to be able to help. I wanted to be free. I also sometimes I go, I didn't want to be rich. I hated this side. I hated being poor. It was a disdain. So you just changed? Yeah. 3% of the time, 1% of the time. I made a tiny adjustment in I quit picking my toenails. I revert back sometimes in public, right? One time, right? Digging my nose in public, digging other cracks in public. It's gradually, but it's unwilling to stay here. Okay? All right, bro. I think that's what I want to hit. This is, we drop down to, you're going from professionalism down to humility.
Yeah, so just one more thing. If you want a good example of this, would be Gina Hawkes. She's a consummate professional. Classy lady, shows up at the hot spot, I guarantee you, before it's 7 o'clock. She's never running late. And she does a consistent, great job each time, right? You can depend on that. She's professional. If you want somebody to look toward, you got some new people and go, hey, what is being professional that he talked about on the TWC? Let them meet Gina. If you want to learn about validation, let them meet Tim Goat. And if you want to learn about humility, meet Paul Roberts. It's a walking encyclopedia of humility. The man's got it. And I'm going to tell you, being humble attracts people. People are attracted to him, aren't they? He don't talk loud, he talks soft. But he carries a big stick of humility. He's got it. Now, I didn't talk to him today or yesterday about even bringing this in here, but he's not boastful. He just goes out and does. He don't tell you what he's going to do. He just does it. And he's not in love with himself. He don't suffer from this thing called vanity. He's not in this thing called me first attitude. Humility allows us to see the dignity and worth of having a professional attitude and prompting a more diplomatic strategy when trying to connect people to each other and the ideas that govern us. So the thing called being humble, this humble demeanor, cannot be practiced through arrogance and anger. We must respect, there's the word respect, all of our fellow human beings. Humility comes from a place called love. Love conquers all. This is the first time I've brought love into this conversation, and this is where love comes in and is attached to respect. And this thing called humility. It transcends our own little narrow interest that we have. True wealth is only realized by humility and honoring others. You want wealth, and you want people to follow you, and you want a team. Humility is the way. It's a strong, strong quality to have.
I want to make this is a big confusing area and a little bit of surprise to you because I just got this picture. But this is Paul Roberts' new Corvette. Okay, so this is a V6 because he says he is 6 years sober. Okay, some people have a Corvette because they want to show you who they are. Like, this is me, pride. You with me? Paul says, because I've been sober 6 years, Paul says, if you do what Andy's saying and you copy, this is what you get. So it's, how did you say it? Like the Jets are they're a symbol of the work ethic, a symbol of the humility and the willing to do the work. And there are people who buy things that say, see who I am, but that's not, they're not going to have this many people touching it. They don't want them near it. They're going to put it in a museum because that's who they are, because without that, they're not worth anything. Does that make sense? Versus, let's go, everybody jump in a plane. Everybody, let's go buy it. So people get that flipped upside down, Peter. They get that twisted. But bad to the bone. Congratulations, Robert's team. Robert's family.
Yep.
All right.
We got the quotes. I did validation. Let's look at courtesy. Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson. I like this quote, and I'll give you the moral of it. We must be as courteous to a man as we are to a good picture, which we are willing to give advantage of good light. Meaning, being polite gives you the benefit of the doubt. Allows you to have the benefit of the doubt and not judge people. You give them the benefit of the doubt. Manners quote from Lawrence Stern, one of my favorite people. Respect for ourselves guides our morals. Respect for others guides our manners. And then civility quote from PM Forney. This is his definition. Being civil means being constantly aware of others and weaving restraint and respect into the very fabric of this awareness. Just being aware that other people are in the room and they have different points of view, and celebrating those points of view with like validation. Validation is like a celebration of their point of view. What more is of a grown-up thing than a point of view that you celebrate? Now, Isaac Newton, I love this. Tact, that's the word, is the art of making a point without making an enemy. Professional quote, Alistair Cook, I love him, a British writer. A professional is someone who can do his best when he doesn't feel like it.
That's huge.
Huge, yes. And then I have one biblical quote here, and it is huge. And it's about humility. Matthew 23:11 through 12. But the greatest among you shall be your servant, and whoever exalts himself shall be humbled. Whoever brags on himself shall be humbled, and whomever humbles himself shall be exalted. Never once do you hear Paul Roberts brag on his accomplishment. And people follow that, right? They love that about him. He is definitely a good example of that. So, are you ready to?
Okay, so formula. Validation plus courtesy and diplomacy equals respect. And then the flow for validation, courtesy, and diplomacy. This will be coming out in a book. This is what we got to do to blow this thing up, because we're trying to travel the world. If you were with us in Hawaii, would you stand up? Who all was our Hawaii participants? If y'all kind of slide and make way and let them come down here and see who these people are, give them a hand while they come forward. Woohoo! That's right. That's right. That's right. Look at this. Everybody can do it. Everybody can do it. Everybody can do it. All right, y'all come across here, Terry. All right, we got 5 minutes. So real quick, tell them who you are, whose team you're on, and what was your favorite thing about the Hawaii trip?
All right, Terry and Tia Edwards. We're Director Jason and Olga Mathis, part of the Riddle Group. And the favorite part about the trip, food. That was yours, not mine. The food. The food was amazing. Like the fruits over there were huge. The melons were so sweet. The pineapples, we used our centerpieces for appetizers. They had pineapple centerpieces. Mike Lemontovich just took a butter knife and broke it down. Yeah, it was good.
And it was the pool for me, just hanging out with everybody.
Hanging out with the crowd.
Yes.
Jane Albright was right up in there.
God, yes, she was trying to teach me how to float.
That might have been the highlight activity of the whole thing is teaching Tia to swim.
Right.
Still got a ways to go.
I got a lot more I want to talk to them about. Who you are and what was your favorite thing about the Hawaii trip?
We are Toby and Stephanie Griggs, and I guess my favorite part was, like Tia said, the association, hanging out by the pool, getting to experience people on a different level.
Real quick, craziest thing you did?
Skydiving.
Is that crazy?
That was awesome.
In Hawaii.
That's right. I think my favorite thing is I'm kind of like a country boy from Pennsylvania, so I never really, I technically say get out of the U.S., but we were in Hawaii like a long ways away. So taking a plane trip that long and just seeing different sights, like the water is crazy blue. There's like 50, 45, 60 shades of blue out there. Just unbelievable, like incredible. Didn't know it was out there.
Good stuff. Cuz, right here.
Russ Everett, and my wife's not here, but her name is Denise. And one of my favorite things was just being able to hang out with her, spend some time. But I guess the greatest thing was seeing new people like Toby and Stephanie and thinking next year, I got to bring more. I got to have more people on this trip. They got to bring people. And then, of course, my favorite was jumping out of airplanes. Denise sent me a video the other night, and it was Will Smith, and he was jumping out. And he said, the moment before you jump is sheer terror, but 1 second into it, you realize it's pure bliss. And he said, everything is you want in life is on the other side of fear.
Woo, good job. Y'all come across. Front.
Hey, you made it. I know. I'm Beth Ireland. I am Director Terry and Tia Edwards. My favorite part was the association, but also I got to take my daughter, and we got to celebrate her graduation from college. And the food was awesome.
Good stuff. Good job being there.
James and Jane Hill, hired by Andy and Jane Albright. What wasn't to love, man? Obviously spending time with my wife Jane, really cool. Like, did you see how many people first time earn their trip? Like, the line start, like, we didn't have enough room at the front on the stage to hold everybody.
Yeah.
I love seeing that, the look on people's faces when they get to see this is how we're going to live the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Every year. That's my favorite part.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to go on your first trip, but then once you have people that earn their trip and that belief level just rises. And I think that was just the neatest part is, you know you're following somebody who could go, like Andy could go by himself or with Jane, just on their own to these places. They don't have to take any of us with them, but he just has that vision. Like, he wants more and more and more people to come. And I just think that's really neat. That's like, I think that encapsulates the whole, like, attitude of the company and the trip, so it's really neat.
Angela Clark.
Angela Clark, hired by Andy and Jane Albright. My favorite part was echoing James, seeing just how I had no idea how many people it was their first trip, and it just brought me back to my first trip, and it's just you never think that it's gonna be you, and to see all these people who were once like me, can I do it? And then they did it. Was just the most exciting thing for me. Other than that, it was just building deeper and deeper friendships. Every time we go on a trip, hanging out with Stephen and Holly Davies and, Andy and Jane and the Owens, and just making friends that like you're gonna, like, this is your life. This is how it's gonna be every year hereafter. So
That's right. Yeah.
Jen Moore. My favorite part was getting my brother there, getting him around the culture, and seeing him just be enveloped by the culture, knowing he wasn't expecting to be enveloped. That was my very favorite part. Second favorite is knowing that it was my first trip, but not my last trip.
There you go. Check out Alliance Family Reunion all across the country, including the 5th United State, Hawaii. We want you to come to our family reunion, and every last one of you, we want you to go to Paris and hang out with us.
Yep.
You can do it. You got plenty of time if you start right now. We love you. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Jeff Bright. Great job, baby.